Hi there. I see one viewer. We're just waiting until about right on 7 o'clock. Then we'll get started. 2 viewers. Just, again, wait until 7 o'clock to get started, maybe about 7:05. Make sure everybody who's coming is actually going to be here. If you're not able to, remember you can join into the Hangout itself. Click on the link that's the first comment on the Google Plus page for the event. And you can join right into the Hangout, so that way you can chat either using the group chat on the side or by using a mic if you have one, which is actually best. Even better if we can all chat in real time, ask questions and all that. Again, that link is right on the very first comment posted below the event page. Three viewers now. So once again, just saying we'll wait until 7 o'clock or so, maybe a little after, make sure everyone gets here. And also that make sure it's really best if you can join into the real Hangout by clicking on the link in on the event page, so that you can get right into the Hangout itself and chat directly with us. That way you can make specific requests or try and make us pause and redo something. Anything like that is just fine. And again, that link is right on the main event page. I think I'm sharing my screen on here. So you should see it here. Just go to the link for the event, and right here, you can click right there. Hi there, number 4 viewer. 5. Thanks for showing up. As I keep saying to everybody, we're just waiting until about 7 o'clock, and please do join into the real Hangout by clicking on that link. The link posted on the event. That'll let you drop in and chat with your mic, or just type into the group chat here. That way anyone can make requests or let me know I need to pause if I'm going too quick on anything. A few minutes left here. Just waiting a bit more to make sure everybody gets in. If you're having trouble getting into the actual Hangout, probably best just send me a quick message on Twitter or Facebook, Gmail, email, anything like that, and I'll make sure you got the best link to get in. But again, it should be posted up right on the event page so everyone can get to it. One minute while I fix up a couple things to get ready, as we're almost there at 7 o'clock. And we're at 7 o'clock. Let's just give it a couple minutes to give it a second for anyone else who's late to jump in. Alrighty, still waiting. Hoping a few people can jump into the Hangout. Makes it a lot better. That way I can take requests and do a more specific work. Worked out great on the last classroom. Again, if you're not able to, just send a quick email. I'll get to it right away. Let me just take it till 7:05. If you guys can wait just a minute or two, a few more people might drop by. Well, I guess they can jump in later and then catch up. All right, so just one last mention. I'm going to keep saying, if you can, please do jump into the Hangout itself. Our last classroom was full of people there, and it was great. Everyone was able to comment and quickly ask questions and keep up. So do that if you can. Just click on that link in the on the event details. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over, in this case, just the fundamentals of ProBuilder. I guess we won't be doing specifics since, well, unless we get some requests here. So just starting right out. This is ProBuilder. Obviously, this is Unity here entirely, and ProBuilder is the tool that we're going to be using for building geometry here in the editor. This is something that's pretty common in pretty much every other game engine that I'm aware of anyway, but is not there in Unity, which is pretty tough to build levels and stuff up with, I've found, without some sort of building. So we have two tools, ProBuilder Basic and ProBuilder Advanced. Basic is free and gives you a lot of really good stuff, and then the more advanced 3D modeling stuff is part of ProBuilder Advanced. So let's jump right in. Basically, I'll delete this cube we have here. Start out with the simplest, Control-Shift-K, or even simpler, Control-K. That's going to create you a basic starter cube. So just like in 3D Max or Maya, Blender, any of those others, pretty much everything is built up from the ground from some sort of starter shape. We do have other starter shapes. So besides just this cube, if you hit Control-Shift-K, you'll get the shape selector. And here you can choose anything from a cube, a flat plane, cone, various primitive shapes, also more useful things like a stairway, which you can do nice things like set the curvature on even. Some more complex stuff you can start out with. They're all there, and lots of nice setup for you there, parametric options to create it. But we're going to start with just a basic cube to keep things simple to start with. So number one, with a ProBuilder object, it's really no different than just a standard regular Unity object. So you can move it around like a Unity object, you can rotate it, you can scale it, you can do all these things. And in-game as well, it's just the same as an imported mesh. Performance, et cetera, it's just the same. There are 0 scripts running in the game. Nothing that's going to affect performance most likely. If you're building with ProBuilder, you'll actually have better performance just because you can do so much more tweaking right in the editor much more quickly than moving back and forth. Anyway, let's just look at how to use this. So you have your ProBuilder object, which is just a mesh with a few of our scripts attached to it, basically. Oops. And with this at the top, first thing you have are the element mode toolbar at the top here is the element mode toolbar. First time doing a live classroom. Hope this is going all right. So there's 4 basic modes. Object mode, in which you are manipulating the full object itself. Then you have the Vertex Mode, so you're editing individual vertices, where you can drag, select multiple, hold Shift to select more, usual, just like anything else in Unity. There's Edge Mode, so you're selecting individual edges to edit, and Face Mode, where you're editing by faces. Again, you can hold Shift to select multiple, you can drag select, lots of different options for selecting, and it all really is the same as anything else in Unity. So we really try to keep things simple and intuitive. You don't have to learn extra stuff. They're just using Unity's standard handles to move it. You can rotate it. You can even scale a face. And you can do the same thing with edges. So with any edge selected or edges, you can scale them, move, and rotate, just like anything else in Unity, except now you're actually building something instead of just moving objects around. Let me quick check the chat, see if anybody has dropped in here. Okay, great. So we've got 6 viewers now. Just as I keep saying, guys, if you can jump into the Hangout itself, it's much better. That way you can chat with your microphone or use the group chat here. So just go to the link that I've posted in the event. If you look right on the page for the event, the link should be right there for you. It's right up here as well. You can find it right there. I guess if you can pick it up from the video. Maybe some of you are having troubles getting to that link somehow. Again, let me know. Send me a quick email. I'll get a ping on my phone and I'll know it, and I'll figure out what's going on. But definitely join the Hangout if you can. It's a lot better that way. Anyway, let's keep on going here. So you have your mode toolbar up top here. You can use this with shortcut keys. Of course, that's a lot better. Just hit G to move in and out of geometry mode. You can hit H to toggle between the geometry modes themselves. So that'll swap from verts to edges to face and keep moving around. Hitting escape at any time will move all the way back to object mode. So if you want to just move around standard objects, just regular Unity controlling, that's what you want object mode for. And then again, the elements are editing the individual chunks or elements of this object. Something you're probably really familiar with if you've already used Blender or Max or anything like that. So that's the main toolbar, or really just the modes toolbar. Over here on the left is the full ProBuilder toolbar, and this has really changed in a recent version, and we hope you guys really like it. Number one, looks a lot better, and it also has 2 modes now. This nice text mode, and also if you right click, you can change to icon mode. It's going to show the icons instead of text. I have a little bug going on because I'm using a non-complete ready of ProBuilder, not quite released yet, so I've got something going on with my icons. They normally look a lot prettier. Sorry about that. But anyway, you can have it in this icon mode, and it'll make sure that it's using up the least amount of the GUI, or sorry, of your scene space as possible. You can also edit this. You can change it around. If I pull it out and then change it, just like this, and it'll work the same in text mode also. You can set that toolbar up however you like. So in case you have a very specific position of your scene or of your Unity GUI you want to put it in, go ahead and you can scroll with your mouse wheel or click on the little buttons to scroll this around. You can set it up to be a vertical toolbar, do whatever you like. So we're really happy with this. We'd love to hear what people think of it. It definitely makes working with ProBuilder much easier to have such a nice handy toolbar. I'm going to change this back to text mode just so it's more obvious as I'm working what's going on. You can see the exact text item that I'm clicking on here. So going down through the toolbar, we've also broken this up into categories, basically, and we've shown it pretty obviously via the colors here. So just to make things even simpler to know what you're doing while you're clicking on buttons, the first area here are all the special independent tools. So I've got the new shape tool, I've got the material editor, UV editor, all these extra items. We'll go into these in a bit more detail in maybe this tutorial, maybe others, depending on how far we get. But basically, those are your independent tools that do more than can be done with just a single click. Below that, we have the selection tools. So this would be things like selecting through hidden elements, the handle, coordinates, grow and shrink selection, stuff like that. Below is all of, in green, are the object tools. So these are going to affect entire objects at once. Just to demonstrate, so I can flip the normals, subdivide the entire object, freeze the transforms, and conform and triangulate. So again, I'm just moving through these pretty quick. Don't worry about memorizing things, obviously. Just want to let you guys know what's going on here in the toolbar in general. So green is object, red down here are the geometry tools. So most of these will not be visible until you move into a geometry mode, for example, the vert mode here, or edge, or face. And something you also notice is this toolbar changes and adapts based on what you're currently doing or have selected. So in Vertex mode, it's only going to show vertex options, none of the edge or face options that you wouldn't be able to do anyway. Also, depending on what you have selected, for example, with just one vertex selected, something like, in this case, I guess it's hard to see. Let's move to a better option. With just one face selected, merge faces isn't available. It's grayed out because you need more than one face to merge together. Of course, you can't do it with just one selected. So we try to make sure that you have cleanest UI with only showing what you actually can do and nothing that you can't. Give me 1 second here. Kind of loud outside. Okay. Let's check that chat again, see if we've got any questions going on here. Oh, hi, we've got two people. Hi there. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. Fozzie and Glenn. Thanks for joining up into the channel here. Let's check. Did you guys have any specific questions? Everything going okay? Again, this is our very first time doing a real classroom, so who knows what might be going wrong here. Just let me know if you're able to view the screen okay and everything. Voice is coming through all right. Oops, just realized I didn't have my headset on actually. Sorry, were you chatting? I didn't hear it. I'm hearing mostly just static. Sorry, maybe something wrong with your mic over there? Or maybe it's a mic that's accidentally on. Oh well. Okay, great. So you say everything seems to be working fine. Okay, cool. So I'll keep going. I was talking about the buttons over here for geometry actions. Below that, there's a few extras, the set detail, mover, collider, and trigger. We won't worry about those yet. They're a bit more of a complex thing that's more as you start building out complex levels, but we don't need to deal with them yet. Okay, so getting into some specifics here. I think we'll just go down through the toolbar and look at the shapes we have here. I'm going to delete this, start fresh. Once again, if you hit Control-K, that's your basic starter cube you can work with. You can also use the New Shape button up here, and this is the tool for choosing and creating different shapes. So you'll just choose the shape you want to do, set any of the options here, or if you'd like to create it. As usual, probably the most interesting is the stair object here, of course. So you set it up. Once you have it ready, you can move it around, you can rotate it, you can even scale the object. When has this bright blue over top, it's just a preview object, so it's not actually in your game yet. When it's ready, just click on Build, and then you'll have it in your game there, and you can start editing it. So that's the New Shape Creator. Material Editor, below that, lets you just assign materials to the material palette below, which is useful for if you want to really quickly assign materials. In this case, I have a couple prototype materials already added in here. And for example, I could just select maybe, let's say, each of these steps. I probably shouldn't have added so many steps to this when I created it. It's all right. And now in my material editor, I've got, let's see, hang on 1 sec. Like somebody's microphone is causing problems. Oh, I'm sorry. I see you had a question there. 1 sec. Let me look at that. I'm just gonna. Okay, that seems better. Oh, Oops, something else is breaking. Having fun here. Okay, I'll just ignore that for now. Okay, so you were asking, you currently work on a project using ProBuilder 2.4. Is it possible to upgrade to 2.5 without breaking all of your PB objects? Yeah, it should work perfectly fine. What exact version do you have? Go to if you go to the docs, procore3d.com.docs, especially click on installing and upgrading, and then look here at the you can check which version you have, and basically as long as you're above 2.4.8, all you have to do is import the new version and you're set. Oh, I see you have 2.4.1. Let me refer to that exact list. So you'll have to go through, it sounds like, the DLL rename upgrade. Yeah, so basically a few things changed here and there within ProBuilder, yada yada, that it's going to be a little bit more complex. So if you click right there where it says DLL rename upgrade, it's going to step you through exactly what you have to do, which is complicated and a problem. Sorry about that. It's just the way it's got to be for those older versions, unfortunately. But once you're there, once you're upgraded past that, again, anywhere past 2.48, you're going to be fine. And all you have to do is import the new version, and you're set. Looks like this person isn't actually in, so okay. Was that what you were looking for, hopefully? Am I missing something obvious? 2.4 to 11. I keep thinking I'm missing something really obvious that you're saying, but no, if you have 2.4.1, that's going to be previous to 2.4.8. Oh, ha, of course. That's what happens when I start doing too many things at once. Yeah, if you have 11, then you're good. Mm-hmm. All right. I can count, for real. Yeah, no problem. So just go ahead and import. You should be good. Always back up first. Actually, before I say any of that, make a backup of your project before you update anything. You never know. Things can happen, of course. But once you do backup, you should be all set. Should I go to the tutorial here, or were you already? Sounds like you've been using ProBuilder for a while. Cool. Yeah, thanks. Seems like you're the only viewer right now, so I might just take a pause until someone else comes on. Or if there's something specific that I can go over, that's even better, actually. Okay, great. Well, I'll just keep going along with this, I guess, fundamentals tutorial, and then I'll go into some of the. I did miss a couple of the new GUI features that I should do as well. I guess real quick, finishing what I was on here, though. So with the material editor, again, you can just apply material just by clicking on the button, or too many Control-Z's. You can hit the shortcut key next to it. So just clicking on these here will apply it right away. Looks like these colors aren't set. That'll make more sense. There we go. So it's a quick way to set those up, and there's also an option to quickly match the material selection that you have. Drag and drop in a quick texture. I'll get back into the GUI stuff. That sounded more like what you were interested in. Let me check if. Oh, hi Perry. Another person added. Sounds like Mike. Hey, how you going? How you doing? We're still trying to figure out the classroom setup here, so hope it's coming through okay. All right, so I was going to say a few more things about the new GUI here. So we now have these little plus icons if you're in texture mode. In icon mode, it's a little different. I'll show you that in a minute. But a lot of items now have extra options to them. So you just click on the plus icon to get things like the grow selection options or extrude face options. It'll have that plus next to it. And a lot of these should start gaining those soon as we add more and more advanced modeling features to this. If you are in icon mode, and again, I'm not sure why my icons are looking terrible right now. They're normally a lot better. Just hit Alt. Hold Alt when you left click on it, and that'll pop open the options. And whatever you set in here becomes the default. So if I change Remove Restrict to Angle, that's going to be the default now. So whenever I click on that button, it's just going to do that, growing the angle there. I'll turn that back on. It's usually more useful. Or you can click on the button in here. And I'll, oops, did not mean to do that. Let me just swap this back to the text mode. Perry, I'm just curious. Was it a problem getting into the Hangouts? It seemed like people were viewing but unable to get in. Okay.
Can you hear me right now?
Yep, I can hear you great now.
Oh, jeez. The thing is I'm trying to do everything on an iPad and I'm trying to stream it to my TV.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's just like it kept not wanting to hook me up.
Oh.
And so I had to go jump through a bunch of hoops through Safari, and I finally got it through a web browser instead of through the Hangouts app.
Yeah, that sounds pretty complicated. Yeah, well, I'm kind of in the middle of deciding between using this or Twitch, because Twitch always seems kind of laggy and slow and a little less user-friendly, but then again, this has clearly been a bit troublesome just trying to get it set up.
I just wish there was an easy way to do this through your YouTube channel so that I could stream directly to the TV. Yeah,
you know, I imagine if you put the YouTube channel on your TV and just listen there, and then you could use, it gets complicated, I guess, your iPad or something to then be connected to Google Hangouts. Yeah, I wish there were a properly easy way to do it. I guess I'll have to keep experimenting with other methods. Are you familiar with Twitch? Have you used that before as well?
On other things, but you know what? All this stuff doesn't work that well right now.
Yeah, I feel like it's all kind of still coming together. Because for me, I really want to be able to do the video, audio chat, or at least the text chat, so people can ask questions and stuff as I'm going. And that seems kind of hard to do with any method. So. Okay, well, glad you can hear me all right then. Since I've got you on here, I found it works a lot better to ask specifics, really. Is there something that you prefer I go over and explain or demo?
To tell you the truth, I'm just going to watch what you're doing right now. I kind of like to keep quiet on this stuff.
Okay, sure, no problem at all. All right, I'll just keep going with the basic demo that I'm making up as I go along here.
Perfect.
Still getting used to being under pressure here. So, all right, I guess I was going down through the list of the tools over here. So, as that material editor just lets you quickly apply materials. You can just drag and drop things as well. So I can just drop that onto material if I'd like to, or onto the object. Problem with that one is we've found a lot of times it's really hard to catch that exact event essentially in Unity. So if you do that, sometimes once you start editing things, not today of course, it won't break when I want it to, but sometimes anyways that doesn't work out perfectly. So we usually recommend using the material editor, and there you just drag and drop items into the panel and then use it to apply either with the shortcut keys or clicking the button there. UV editor below that gets pretty complicated, so we won't really get into it here, but some good basics on that actually. Let me delete this giant complex stair and go back to just a regular cube. So with a UV editor, the best way to use it is to, or at least if you're just starting, is ignore most everything you see here. For a lot of people, a UV editor is a pretty complex thing. I remember when I started using them in Macs, it just completely confused me. So we have some simple ways of doing this. And the idea is maybe you have a texture on here and you want to be able to just change its position or how many times it's tiling or something like that. And the nice thing with ProBuilder is you don't have to change the material itself, so you're not making multiple materials to do different things. All you have to do is edit the UVs. So instead of using the complex UVs here, just click on this little button which shows 3 arrows moving, the X, Y, and Z arrows. And then you'll be able to manipulate the UVs in the scene view. So you can click on a face that you want to move, UV face, but you can do it in the scene, and then just move it using the handle. Or you can use the scale tool to change this tiling or scaling, and it's got rotate. So real quickly you can change if it's a brick wall and for some reason it's coming in at an angle or something like that. You can quickly rotate it or scale it to fit in, anything like that, move it around. So it gives you nice controls for the basics there. If you want to get a little bit more advanced, again, you can kind of ignore the things that are going on the right with you're seeing the actual UVs here, and just select any number of faces or UVs. Sorry, I'll be more clear with that. Just select the faces here. Turn off the control in scene view, and then you can just set the offset directly. For example, I want it exactly 0.25 here and 0.5 there. Right? You can just type in values. You can set an exact rotation, and the same for the scale. So pretty quick and simple to move things around that way if you need to. A couple extra options to flip and swap the UVs, something not really to mess with until you get more complex with that. Maybe at some point we'll have a complete class talk or classroom or whatever on UV editing, because there's a lot in here, of course. But the basics are, I think, just to use this little panel and move things around. Probably mostly use the in-scene controls because they're real handy to quickly move and set things up as you need them for your texturing there. If you get to something a bit more complex and you want to, for example, here we probably want the texture on the left face to continue onto the right. A real simple way is to make sure that scene control is off, so we're directly controlling the UVs here. Just hold Control and click on the scene the face you want to continue onto. And kind of like in Hammer, some people are used to, and I think UE4 has the same thing. It's basically just continue the texture around. So it's a good way to real quickly keep your textures moving together, and at the same time actually building out your UVs. So if I look over here, it's now all unfolded for you. So all the actual UV work has been done. You don't have to manually move these around and such. Once you've done that, though, your UVs are now converted to manual mode. So with them selected, you'll see in the Actions tab here, it says UV Mode Manual. So what that means is ProBuilder is no longer taking care of all the UV work for you. And that's good if your object, you want to stay with these exact UVs. So even if I edit it, the UVs don't change. Of course, that means visually they're going to stretch and shrink and such, which you probably don't want if you're doing major edits. So at that point, you can select all these, all of these, and just click on Convert to Auto. And now they're back to auto mode. And when I move the geometry, ProBuilder is going to do its best to take care of just automatically updating those UVs. Something else you can do in here with the UVs, and actually I think I'll leave that pretty well for the UV stuff, so we don't get too deep into that. Again, there's a lot to deal with there. Question though, did anybody have any questions on what I'm doing there, or any specifics? I know the UVs are usually a more complex part of this. Should I get into that a bit deeper in any way? Nothing it looks like? Okay. Let's see. So continuing with this, Vertex Colors are a really neat thing to use. I think a lot of people don't use these. You can either paint them on just by choosing any of these colors, and oops, that's a good gotcha. Actually, this needs to be, in order for Vertex Colors to work, the default ProBuilder material will work with those, but I've swapped this, and you'll probably run into this yourself as well. Most people do. Make sure that the material that's on there, so let's find the material right now, it's our default prototype. Make sure you change the shader to ProBuilder and then standard Vertex Color. So unfortunately this shader right now doesn't work with the fancy post effects I have going on. Let me just switch back into here. But then we can use the painter to paint colors onto objects real quickly. Probably work a little better if we had some more geometry on there. Let me close this for a second, and I'll just throw some more geometry onto that. So back to the Vertex Colors, you also have the palette mode, which is a little simpler. So you just select the faces you'd like to apply a color to, and then just click the button, and it'll apply directly. So this is pretty useful if you're building up a level or some such, and you want to say, you know, this side is one group and that's another group or something. If I have something here and I want to say, or here is yellow and green and red base or something, it's a real quick way to add those colors in, and it's also really good performance-wise if you're making a mobile game or anything like that. And again, it does have that plus sign, so you can choose between using the palette mode, which is just applying directly to faces, or the painter mode, which lets you do the painting on here. So you can paint it kind of like a brush. Alright, I'm going to switch that material back, make a note for myself to have that set up properly next time. Just make that a standard material so it looks nice and fancy in this scene effects view. Below Vertex Colors, smoothing. If you have an object, maybe actually better to do would be if you have something like anything with edges that need to smooth over. By default, they'll come in basically faceted, so you can see all the edges. And the smoothing controls, somewhat like 3D Studio Max, lets you select any faces you want to be smoothed. Click on a smoothing group, and then Unity will see them as one single smooth group. So on the right, these faces are still being faceted because they haven't been smoothed over. They aren't part of the same smoothing group. But on the left, they're all smoothing together. So if you have more something that looks organic, anything that needs to be not a hard surface, and that can be really useful. But then you can keep it for areas where you might want to, or a pillar or something. You can make sure that, let's do this from the other side actually. Areas you want to have a hard cut, like from this face down to this face, if those have the same smoothing group, hard to tell here, I guess, but it's going to create some odd-looking geometry. Already you can see the lighting is moving across that strangely. You're generally going to want anything more than about 45 degrees to not be smoothed onto adjacent faces. That's probably something to go over in another more complex geometry tutorial instead of just zooming through it. Let's see, check for any comments real quick, sorry. Okay. And definitely feel free to let me know if I should go into more detail on something. Still figuring out what the classroom agenda is going to be for each of these. Mirror tool lets you mirror tools around objects. If I have something that is, it's more obvious if it's not symmetrical, the mirror is just going to, you choose which axis to use, and it'll just make an exact copy mirrored over. Better example would probably be something you couldn't just rotate. So, just like that, lets you create a quick copy. Below that,
can it meld the two together?
Oh yeah, yep. So below then, in the green area down here, are the object tools, and there's merge objects. So just click on that one, and it'll give you the option to either merge delete or merge save. This one, if I click on Merge Save, it keeps the originals, but just hides them in Unity.
Mhm.
So here's your new one, and then the old ones you can turn back on in case you realized you made a mistake. Otherwise, Merge Delete deletes them. Was that what you're thinking, like that?
Well, it's if you're modeling symmetry, so that the left side looks exactly like the right side, and you're trying to do half the work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. We don't have a symmetry modifier, like maybe you're thinking like 3D Max has?
Well, I use Cinema 4D, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, probably something similar then. Yeah, so real-time symmetry, we don't have that. That would be awesome, I admit. Something that we'll probably work towards, though, is just so that you create an instance, basically, so it'll just keep up with everything you're doing, but they're two separate objects, which still isn't perfect. But creating a real-time symmetry, I think, is going to be pretty tricky. But yeah, no reason to do double the work. Usually what I end up doing at this point is just building one half and doing a mirror every once in a while to keep up with it.
Right.
Which, yeah, isn't ideal, but yeah, more things coming for sure.
But when you weld them together, are you getting rid of the inside faces, so all that's left is the outside? Or are you going to have two inside faces, welded together?
Yep, good point. Right now you have to manually delete those. So you'd select these inside faces, hit Alt-G, which just grows the selection, and backspace, and then they're gone.
Beautiful. Theek you.
Yeah, so yeah, we're trying to build in ways, even though the full complete ways like the real-time symmetry aren't there, but there's definitely options there. Yeah, we'll continue with this here. So then the blue here is all of the selection options. Select Hidden will choose whether or not you can select through items, pretty much what it says. So with that off, if I drag select, I'm not going to select anything that's hidden. So like these verts here are occluded. Even when I drag select over them, they won't be. Turning that back on, even though I can't see them, they're still going to end up selected there. So usually I keep it on select hidden on, but just to keep in mind if you're wondering why you're accidentally moving things, I can kind of drag select this, and I've actually gotten other things too. So that lets you choose which way you want it to be. The handle options are pretty great, especially if you're used to Cinema 4D or a real 3D modeling tool. Right now, obviously, it's just in world mode, and if I rotate the face, it's still showing just world. I can click on that, change it to local if the object itself were rotated. Now, of course, the handles are going to match the object rotation, and then, oops, wrong button. Changing that to plane is going to match it to the plane that it's on. I think there's something like that in Cinema 4D, right? Probably something similar. Okay,
yeah, you have a local and global system button up at the top.
Okay, yep. Yeah, this is the same, then it also adds plane, if that's something new. Plane is pretty nice, in that you can keep moving this, and then as you're changing the direction of that, it sticks directly to the plane itself. Yeah, and then grow selection is a really nice one I can demo just quickly there. So with that, you can click on the plus sign, or again, just Alt left click if it's the icon. Choose restrict to angle, the max angle, whether it's iterative. I'm realizing a lot of these things, for you, Perry, I think you're probably the only person in here right now.
Oh, well.
Yeah, well, I guess Glenn's here too. Sorry, I forgot about you, Glenn. And two viewers who aren't in the Hangout. So I'll go with a long explanation here, even though you're probably already familiar with this. Basically, grow selection is going to, if you have it set to restrict to angle and hit Alt-G on your keyboard, or just click on the grow selection button, it's going to grow out everything that it can that I always have trouble explaining this part, but the angles aren't more than that max angle number. So obviously it's not going to go over this because it's a 90-degree angle, and if it were something, let's change that back to, if it were something closer to 42, then it would. So I select this face here, Alt-G, and now it is selecting up onto that because it's not more of an angle than 42. Right. You can also, you can also change that to simple iterative. And probably turn off restrict to angle. And then if I select something with that restrict off, it's just going to grow outward from the initial selection. So that's more of a standard grow selection. as it just continues to grow outward from the center. And you can have both angle and iterative on if you want, in case you prefer that. Then it's going to just one at a time keep moving outward. So that's growth selection. Below that, I mean, obviously, shrink will do the opposite of that, and then invert just inverts between what you have selected. So quick ways as you're building a more and more complex object that you can quickly select things. This becomes really useful. I should delete this and create something a little better. Really useful if you have you're building up some sort of room and you want to just select all the ceilings or floors. In this case, I guess it doesn't matter. Just Alt-G on the ceiling, Alt-G on the floor or a wall, and it's going to grab them all at once, which is pretty useful for saving time. You can also double-click on any face. It'll select all the faces on the object. More ways to select quickly. So blue then is all the selection tools, and then below that we have the green for the object tools. And the first one, which we demonstrated quickly there, was merge objects. Just drops them into a single object. Merge delete gets rid of the old ones, and now it's one single item. Below merge object, flip normals will let you change an item so the normals are facing in the opposite direction they were. If your object has non-conformed normals, they're in different ways, they'll all flip. And you can use the tool further below, conform, to make all the normals on your object conform. For example, if I'm building pretty bad demo objects here, I'm going to try and build something that makes a little more sense. So if I were building up some sort of room or set of hallways or something that I wanted players to muck about in, let's get something here. I can click on Flip Normals, and it also affects the collision. So you could drop your player controller or something inside of here, and you have an interior level working right away. And then you maybe want be a bad way to do it, but you could select any face and just click on Flip Face Normals on just that one, and now that face is flipped. Probably better to just delete it or build a proper window or something, but just for the demo here, you can do that. And then if you realize you've built this level and you've done some things and you don't remember which normals are which way, just select the full object, make sure you're in object mode up here in the toolbar, and click on Conform Normals. And it's going to find what the average is and apply that to all of them. But a quick way to build interior spaces, or to go the other way too, you can flop it around. Subdividing objects will just add kind of like a tessellate to, or a mesh smooth or turbo smooth, I think they are in Max. If you see the object here right now, click on subdivide, and it just adds, it divides everything into quads again. Maybe more obvious if I flip this back. So once we've smoothed that, or done the subdivide, quite a bit more geometry, and you can keep doing it, adding more geometry. Obviously, lots and lots is going to get pretty heavy just running it in Unity with ProBuilder. We're constantly working to make it work better with really high poly stuff, but it can be kind of tricky right now. Triangulate is a nice one that we've added, especially with the recent popularity of Polyworld and some other things like that. If you have something like a plane that you're making into, maybe, let me just build this real quick, and you're trying to build a low poly look. Normally everything is going to be quads or polys, and you can just click on Triangulate, and it'll instantly make all the triangles explicit, maybe is the right word for that, so that they're all there, and it's no longer the quads or the hidden tris. Useful, I think, more for certain styles and such, but we wanted to add that because it's getting pretty popular for people. I have a few extra options below that to set the pivot, which should be available in object mode. That's a bug I'm going to have to write down. The basic idea is whenever you click Set Pivot, it'll set the pivot to the center of what you have selected. This is pretty useful. Like right now, you can see the pivot isn't actually, the pivot of this object isn't on the object itself. If we go into Vertex Mode, I can select any vertex or multiple and click on Set Pivot here, and that's now where the pivot is. We're looking to add also a way to manually move the actual pivot around, rotate, scale it. We'll be able to do that in the future. But once it's set, then you can use it. That's going to be its real pivot. So a lot of times it's useful for also if you build something up and you start or somehow end up moving its verts, oops, turn that select hidden back on, something like that. Now you have a pivot in a real strange location. You can also just use the center mode up here on the top for Unity. I prefer to see right where the pivot is. But at any point then you can just either select any type of or any of the elements and set it to the center of that element, or multiple, and then it's moved to there for you, a little easier. Okay, so move into all of the geometry actions. I feel like just kind of critiquing myself here, that in a future one of these, I'll probably have a real plan to build something up for you guys. Like, hey, let's build a house with a stairway and some other things. That might be a better way to do it than just kind of going down the list here. I think we'll keep up with that for now, though, if that's all right, just to go through these. Check if anybody else has jumped on here. Hey, John's back, and Perry's still on, and Glenn's still on, so that's good. I haven't bored you guys too much. All right, so our geometry tools that we have here. Once again, to edit those or to use them, you have to be in one of the element modes here. And depending on which mode you have selected, you're going to see different options on the in the red area here. Also depends on what items you have selected, because it's going to keep track and only show what you actually need and gray out anything that can't be used. So right now, merge faces are grayed out because only one face is selected. Let me start with the vertex mode and go down the list through those. So we know set pivot. A couple of the options here are based on faces, and they're always available. So delete faces and extrude are always going to be there, because you can click on any face, even in edge and vertex mode, and it will select an entire face and all the elements for it. So this is just a quicker way to use the face actions, since they're some of the most useful. So I can use the extrude function on a face, even though I'm in vertex or edge mode. It's just available to you at all times. You can also do the extrude option by clicking on its button here. It's going to do a default amount. You can edit that. Just click on the plus icon, choose the distance. You can also choose as group, and that will affect, for example, if I just pick a couple more faces here and click on extrude, it's pulling them all out as a group there. Otherwise, without that, it's pulling them out as separate chunks. So it's going to do, yeah, you could create some funky geometry if you're not ready there. Of course, whatever you set here becomes a default, and once you have that set, you can just X out of the options, and from there on, everything you do when you click the button, it's just going to do exactly, oops, pick some extra things, do exactly that. Then we have collapse vertices, which is really useful for just cleaning things up. For example, if I wanted to bring these two together, drag select, Alt-C will collapse, or click on the button. We've also added in now that you can select, and the first one you select, it will collapse them to that if you have the setting. So again, click on the plus icon here and make sure collapse to first is on. And then whichever the first icon, vertex that you selected was, so I can select all these three, they're all going to collapse down to that that point there. Otherwise, with it off, they just go to the center. It'll average it out. So you can drag select as many as you like, and it'll collapse them all down. Kind of the opposite of that, or not really opposite, but its sister tool is the Weld vertices. So this will only work, number one, if it's on an open edge, or if the vert is open, unconnected, and also if it's within a certain threshold. So you can click on the plus or use the Alt click to get to the options and set your weld distance. Usually I leave it at 0.001 and just never really touch it and leave it alone. So that's useful, kind of like we were showing a minute or two ago. Let's look for a good way to demonstrate this. I'll just create a cube here and bring it together. So if I have an object, and let's see, merge these together, and I'm sort of bridging faces between these two. This is probably already obvious, but basically, oops, that's what I meant to do. If I pull these up together, of course they aren't fully welded, they're just kind of sitting there, and you don't want to do a collapse on each and every one. That'd just take too long. So you can just select all those verts and hit Alt-V. And in that case, the UVs went a little crazy. That's something to look at. But you can click on Weld Vertices or hit Alt-V, and it's going to weld those verts all together as long as they're within that threshold. It's a lot simpler than collapsing each individual group, and also make sure that I'm not collapsing anything that I shouldn't. So I can just grab all of these and hit Alt-V, and it's going to only weld what it should instead of collapsing everything down to nothing and bugging out like that. Okay, oops, I don't want to exit vert mode. Connect vertices also does pretty much what it sounds like. I think these are all triangles, so I don't really have anything to connect here. Yeah, let's create a different cube here. So if you have any verts you want to just connect together, whether to make a triangle explicit or just to add some more geometry, you can click on the connect verts. It's going to draw a line between any verts, or if you have multiple, you can do as well. I'll show that once we merge some faces later. And you can also split verts. So if I select this one here and split them, now these are all broken up into their individuals. So that would be just, again, for creating some more advanced geometry if you need to. Okay, so edges. Edges are where things get a lot more interesting. We can delete this here and start with something fresh. Edges are something we've added in somewhat recently and give you access to edge loop modeling and other fun things like that. So if I make this just a bit more complex, maybe something we can do some edge work with. We've got a couple options that are added up to the selection area here. We can select edge rings and loops. So rings are going to go around and select around like this does. Assuming, do the rings and loops make sense to people, I assume? I don't know if that's something that's confusing or no. Oh, hi Nicholas, didn't see you on there also. Okay, don't see anybody complaining about rings and loops, so we'll assume that makes good sense. So a ring is also maybe tough to explain. Going around, I guess I just have to hit the button and you see it there. Loop will then do this. It's following it like a thread along. So anywhere that it's a quad, it's going to follow along, but anywhere where the quad breaks or where there's more than just the rings connecting like here, it's going to break. You guys can probably tell it's my first time explaining this stuff. Sorry, it's something that I guess you just, probably you guys who've done a lot of this 3D, you just kind of know and use without thinking about how to best make it, explain it. So loops are useful because they let you obviously just select full areas at once, but better than that really is your ability to then add a lot more geometry simply. So if this were a wall and we wanted to add some trim along the bottom, you could go from edge to edge doing a single connect like this and continuing along. The easier way would just be to hit Alt-U, which will insert an entire loop, a new edge loop all the way around, which then you can use to add any extra detail that you want. You can also use the ring to select larger sections at once. But mostly the loops are going to give you the most use there. Okay, rambling again here. Let's see what's on edges here. Okay. Another thing I forgot to mention, at the top, the delete faces. Of course, you can just click that and delete faces. That's available in verts and edges in face mode. That just straight up delete it. You can hit backspace to do it as well. I think I showed for just a minute connect faces is going to just put a single connection between two. This can be a little bit of a problem. I see people using this and then forgetting that they'll end up with this T-junction here, which gives you some odd geometry sometimes. So Unity is going to try and triangulate here in an odd way. So if you're doing that, it's usually best to set the tribes there exactly as you want to make sure it's not going to do anything strange. That'll usually look a little better if you take care of it yourself. Otherwise, again, just adding a complete edge loop. Let's Control Z back through there. Using the Alt-U command or clicking Insert Edge Loop is going to let you put a full loop through there so you don't have any T-junctions or floating verts. Probably the best part then of using edges is just extruding via them. So if I delete this out here so I have an open edge, you can then select any edge or multiples and hold Shift to extrude and just start building out that way. So this can be a really quick way of building things out, especially if you have a plan that you're building to and you're putting it along like a JPEG that you've put on the bottom of your scene or something. It's a great way to build out. Use that quite often, and again, just using holding Shift and moving in any direction, or using the Scale tool while holding Shift, or Rotate will let you do the extrude action. You can click on the edge, extrude edges directly, the button itself, and it will just do a default amount. That's something we're also going to be adding an alt-click option to, so you can set the exact amount that it uses. And then we have the subdivide edges, which is something we've added new as well. Let's see, a good use for that might be, I guess we'll just drop it in here. So if you click on subdivide edges, it's just going to drop a vert right in the center. Can't see it yet, but if we move over to vert mode, now there's a new vert floating in the middle. Another thing to be careful with, because of course you're creating n-gons, non-quads or tris, and you'll end up with some odd geometry if you just kind of leave it and start moving it around. But it's a real quick way to add in extra geometry if you need to connect things without previously you had to do some workarounds to make that work. But you can also use, again, the options here and set just about as many subdivisions as you want in case you really need to add a lot of extra verts in there. Just another way to add more geometry and start creating detail in your objects.
I've got a quick question for you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
When you're building and deleting geometry and stuff like that, do you have an issue with ghost points or ghost edges still remaining? And do you have a way to, like on Cinema 4D, you can hit Optimize and it gets rid of anything that's actually not being used?
I think I see what you mean. For example, let's see, I'm sure I've got a few somewhere around here. Like this vert right now has no point to be there, right? Or even
well, let's say you remove the side and it leaves some of the splines and the points.
Like if I deleted this these faces here, if it would leave the, like it has right now, there's an edge in here, right?
Okay.
And then if I deleted these faces, are you asking if that edge would remain there?
Mm-hmm.
Nope, it just deletes it instantly. So if you if the edge were dependent on that face, maybe is the best way to say it, then it's gone. Any edge or vertices that was there, then it's gone entirely. So you shouldn't end up with any just kind of, I guess, yeah, like you said, ghost vertices or edges will never be hanging around. I'm answering the right question, I think. So again, if I just
yes.
I delete all this, yeah. So there's no verts still out there. They're taken away with it. Okay. Okay. All right. So that's mostly just jumping through all the edge functions. In face mode, pretty much everything has already been gone through since they're used in the others. One thing that's especially useful is the detach faces option. So if this chunk I decide I want to turn into a separate object from this one, I can click on detach faces, and I get two options. First is a submesh. So now it's basically just detached but still part of this object, but I can move it around as if it were separate. And of course I can weld it back on if I want to using the weld tools on the verts. I can also detach it to a totally new object. Click again on detach faces and choose new object. So now this is separated from this one. They're two entirely different objects. So useful if you just need to break off a section, but keep it, hide it for later use, or just edit it separately. I've been kind of jumping around with the extrude, but not really explaining it, I think. It's one of the better features that we added a while back, actually, a long time back, but used constantly. So anytime you have a face selected, or an edge, or an open edge, you can hold Shift and just move it or rotate or scale it. I think I showed a bit already. And it's going to, oops, I meant to hold Shift while I did that. It's going to extrude it outward as you do that. You can also click the button to do it directly by an amount. And then using the scale mode is one of the most useful ways, so that you can make basically an inset, which is a real tool we just need to add properly. Let's change that to face. So you can scale it in and add extra detail that way. Inset is something we will be adding soon, so you can just kind of like extrude works right now. You'd hit a plus and choose an exact amount that it's going to inset like this, without having to scale it like that, which is just kind of eyeballing it, so you get something more exact. You can flip face normals, I think I mentioned already, in case you want to just flip a single item so it's facing in a different direction. Something to be careful with also, of course, or stuff will start looking strange. You can merge faces together, which can be really useful if you have, let's see if there's a good location for that here. This is kind of complex, so I'll create something new. Start with something a little more complex, a cylinder again. So if you really want to, you can select any number of faces and merge them. And it'll keep the tries so it still looks correct, but it's going to automatically smooth them and also make it so you can select it in one click. And also it's a little easier to UV that way. You don't have all the extra lines. For a lot of people like myself, I really don't like having such a crazy n-gon going on there. But it's definitely useful if you want to clean up the lines on something. Also, if you have something like a even just a plane, I guess, and you realize you have way more subdivisions than you need, you can select the areas that you need to, or that you'd like to bring back into one, and just click on Merge Faces, and now it's one single face there. Subdivide faces will just subdivide the individual face you have selected. So I can select these four on the bottom and click on Subdivide. Ooh, that's an interesting one. Good time for bugs to appear there. That's good though. We can then we can quickly repro that if it's on video. Let me do that on something simpler. I think we showed Subdivide already on the object, but this way you can do it per face. So now you just have individuals here that you can edit. And that's it, I guess, going through one by one through each of the geometry functions. I think, actually, I do apologize for making that kind of a boring way to do it. I think in the future I'll figure out something to build, and we'll all go through that together. But going through one by one, at least then we've gone through pretty much everything in ProBuilder. We have just quite a bit if you look into the drop-down menu here that we aren't going to go into as for more complicated things, but just so people know, you can also import any object from Blender or something and use the under Actions, and then ProBuilderize will turn it into a ProBuilder object. And we do have a couple things in the experimental and debug areas, mainly the Boolean tool, so you can chop holes out of things quickly with that and such can be useful. But that's about it going down through the full demo there. I guess at this point, any specific questions you guys have? Things I can go over and directly demonstrate, that'd be great. I can definitely do that for you. Also, any sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Just one thing. Can you actually, like, sometimes I have an app where I can measure out and create a floor plan in Illustrator for a building. Is there a way that I can take the splines from that and extrude them to create the walls, or should I just paste the floor plan on the floor and just build it up out of ProBuilder?
That would be great. We don't have that right now. But I imagine there'd be a way, because if I'm right, that does that currently work for something like Cinema? I think I remember seeing that in Max, or maybe it was CAD or AutoCAD, where you could just pull in an Illustrator file and it would grab all those splines and be able to use them.
Well, the easiest way to do it is you got to spend a lot of time cleaning up the Illustrator file so it is actually one spline. Otherwise, you end up boning yourself big time when you try to extrude it.
Yeah, I've seen some ugly things from that. Yeah, we don't have anything automatic for that yet, so currently the best way would be to drop it into ProBuilder and then start building it up from that. Just working over like a big flat textured plane probably. One thing that I'm chatting with Carl about adding soon, hopefully, is a way to just click points and start building up a shape. So you could, kind of like it works, I think, in Illustrator. I'm not too familiar with it. You're just clicking points to create a shape, and then say done, and it fills off whatever edge you haven't, and then extrude it up or do whatever you might, inset it, and things like that. Yeah. Yeah. So we should have some tools to work towards that soon. Mm-hmm. Anything else specific that I can go over, or also just general thoughts on maybe what I should do for making the tutorial itself more interesting or helpful or useful. Again, just doing it for the first time here, not too used to it. Let me know what you guys think for sure.
I just need to go through your tutorials right now and learn this stuff. That way I can ask more intelligent questions.
Sure, yeah. And I think on the first demo we did, I noticed it worked a lot better because we had a lot of specific questions, and that I was able to work with better. And so it's partly that, and I need to also just I guess work up my skill at just explaining through the obvious things. Maybe is there something that you're going to be building in your project I can go through right now and at least build a quick basic version of it? You can see how I might do it, or the start of it anyway, if that would help.
Well, I mean, basically, I want to use your tool because it's a lot easier to iterate something in VR than it is to take something and build it out in Cinema 4D, bring it in. I need to make a change. Dump it back in Cinema 4D, make the change. I want to use yours to block out everything and make sure everything works. And the cool thing is you're already in Unity, so it seems like it'd be really easy to watch my work in VR.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. That's what we're trying to do. Yeah, so it sounds like you'd probably have, is it architectural style stuff or something like that you're building up from?
My friend and I were basically going to be doing storytelling in virtual reality. So we're building everything from villages to, terrain. There's just all kinds of things. And the thing I like about ProBuilder is you can build straight in Unity, and that makes it really easy to look at it in VR and, walk around and stuff like that, or teleport around and see what works and what doesn't. Yeah,
definitely. And I think something I didn't really go into too much with this is that once you create something, I don't know if I guess I don't have it in here right now, but anytime you're building, the collision is always updated. I probably didn't make it clear, but you never have to change anything with that. You can go in and customize it. But yeah, as soon as you can build an interior or exterior structure or anything, and you can drop your player onto it, he'll start walking around on it properly. Bullets will hit and all that fun stuff right away. You don't have to do any building of custom meshes and such. We also have some extra things where, let's say I have maybe a somewhat complex object. I'll just pretend this is like a Christmas tree or something, or just a pine tree, whatever. So I just want this to be, so that's my visual, and then I want to create a real simple collision geometry for it. You can create, and this is the 4 items below here that I didn't really go into because I wasn't sure if we'd have time. But one of the items, the collider type, will let you create an object that's only a collider, and what that'll do, let me pull this aside. I just hit Control-D to make a duplicate of that. I can kind of simplify this probably by, let's see, I'll grab you and do a, oops, did I turn that option off? I did, okay. So these two and collapse them, and let me just do this around. guess I could have done this some simpler ways, but I'll finish this up. So let's say that's our nice convex collision that we want to use. I can set it as a collider, and it gets this this texture over it, so you can see what it is. Place it where you want, and then as soon as you hit play in Unity, it automatically hides itself. I don't think I have a player set up in here at all, actually. So we can't see anything. But the idea is, in your... Come on, Unity. Okay. In your Unity scene, it's a real quick and simple way to set up colliders, and we have the same thing for triggers. You can make it to be just a trigger, so something the player will walk through and just create a non-trigger event. But it's not going to show in your game, so you don't have to be turning on and off these things. And you can also use the little eye next to here to quickly just hide them all. So if you have a game, eventually once you have a real big game level, you're going to have lots of custom colliders and lots of triggers everywhere for us. So here you can quickly hide and show them. It's just something that we kind of pulled out of Hammer, the engine from back in the day, that we thought was useful, and we've kind of kept around because some of the level designers still use it. But yeah, it's pretty useful for that. And while you're learning it too, the new tooltips are pretty useful, I'd say. If you're wondering what anything does, you can kind of just hold Shift and move your mouse along any of the buttons, and it gives a pretty good description of what it does. Anything else specific I can help with or some such? Oops, sorry, I see Glenn asked, is there a way to generate thumbnails or previews for PB Object prefabs? That's a good question. I'll have to chat with Carl about that. I'm not sure. I assume it has a lot to do with how complex it is to store these things as prefabs. They do store properly, but there's a lot of magic in the background. I'll mention it to him. It's good that we have it on the chat here, and see if there's a way we can edit that so you get a proper prefab preview, because that is useful. Yep. Anything else there? It's always tough to know if anybody is typing something.
Just, do you have a tutorial that goes more in depth into all the UV mapping?
Oh yeah, definitely. If you go to the site, I believe, if I can control P from here, sort of, procore3d.com/videos, I believe it is. I'll take you to all the videos we have right now, and there's quite a few there. Some of them are older, especially the E1M1 series. But it's a great series just to go through and learn some of the basics. Most of the GUI has changed a lot, but it goes through step by step, recreating the entire first level from Doom, the original Doom. But yeah, otherwise specific UVs. Yeah, we've got some new ones here. So there's a GUI, and there's a UVs and unwrapping tutorial, number 6 there, and that goes in depth through pretty much every bit of the UVs. And that's something I think probably we'll do that. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday, I'll have sort of an advanced live class and go through that, because definitely UVs are one of the trickier parts to work with in any program. So, yep, that should help the videos there. And I guess it's right about 8:15, so we should be pretty good. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming for sure. Any last requests? It's fine, I've got time if there's anything else you need me to go over. And of course, you can always just ask on Twitter or Facebook, or just send in an email. That's all good too. All right, looks like we're all set. So thanks again, guys, for showing up and putting up with the kind of unscripted nature of this, figuring it out as I go. Yeah, so thanks again, and drop any comments on the video on YouTube. If you'd like to have something else further explained and such. Yeah. Okay, thanks. We'll see you guys on a future one maybe, especially for the UVs.
Thank you.
Yep, have a good one.